Hello and welcome to our debut episode of our second season of the Bolts Breakaway. Evan Klosky, David Schiele. For the next 7 Saturdays, we're going to go in-depth about this Lightning squad and what we hope is another playoff run.
We hope it's a playoff run. Their position is far from locked up, and we'll go through these final 20 games together, but we have a great episode lined up. We're going to talk about Nikita Kucherov's MVP campaign, an unsung hero, plus an exclusive interview with the one, the only Brayden Point.
So let's get going to the Lightning round and rip through some things you need to know. The Bolts host the Montreal Canadiens tonight inside Amalie Arena. Even though Montreal just pushed Florida to overtime the other night, this is a must-win game, especially given the fact the Lightning have lost 4 straight games at home.
Yeah, and here's an interesting tidbit about that. We haven't seen the Bolts lose 4 straight at home since John Cooper's first full season with the franchise a decade ago. Someone on the ice during that stretch was Marty St. Louis, who coaches the Canadiens and will be in the house tonight. Montreal has 1 road victory in its last 8 tries, Evan.
And just like last year, David, the Lightning have struggled since returning from the All-Star break. Before the break, the Bolts were on fire. In the month of February, though, the boys went 5-7, picking up 11 out of a possible 24 points. As you can see, the Lightning are most likely going to have to earn that wild card spot because the Leafs, not only are they 6 up on Tampa Bay, but they also have 3 games in hand. You just need a chip in a chair when it comes to the NHL playoffs, but the invitation is not guaranteed, David.
And look, only one other time under John Cooper has this squad failed to make the playoffs, and that was back in 2017. They missed the postseason by 1 point. Guys on the team at that time, Kucherov, Hedman, Vazzy, and Stamkos.
The young Vazzy right there.
All right. Although Stamkos only played 17 games that year, so it's not really on Stamkos.
Yeah, that was part of it. And speaking of Stamkos, his franchise record of 18 straight games with a point is safe after Brandon Hagel failed to tally anything against Buffalo on Thursday, despite his 14-game streak ending, which is tied for the second longest in team history. He's been one of the most important players for this group. He ranks 8th in the entire league with 39 even-strength points. On top of that, he plays on the PK. Hagel has proven he was worth that $52 million contract in the offseason.
That just comes with a little bit of playing with some confidence and things going your way, obviously. That doesn't happen often where it goes in or whatever, but it's just happened to go in, and every time it's touching someone's stick, it's going in. So.
Brandon Hagel gets a little power play time, but maybe he needs some more considering how this group has looked on the man advantage recently. The team has scored 4 goals in their last 20 attempts. They're still the top power play group at 29%, but that used to be in the 30s. Nikita Kucherov is factored into 42 of the 54 power play goals, which is a staggering number. As you can see, he's leading the Art Ross race for most points. But what about the MVP battle? So to tackle this question, let's go in the crease with Chris Krenn. You can find his work on TampaBayLightning.com and listen to him weekly on the Into the Blue podcast. Chris, the MVP battle this year is a 3-man race between Matthews, Nathan MacKinnon of Colorado, and Nikita Kucherov. Kucherov is not the Vegas favorite to win the award, so Chris, can you please make a case for Kuch?
Well, listen, Lightning fans know the kind of year that this guy has been having, and he's been on a roll really the entire season. He hasn't had much of a slump at all throughout the year. He's been the most valuable player to his team, in my opinion. And on top of that, I think he's been the best player in the NHL all year long. He was the first guy to 50, to 60, to 70, to 80, to 90, to 100 points. And he makes things very easy on his teammates, which I think, he doesn't get enough credit for that. All of his passes are tape to tape for the most part. He sets up his teammates, puts them in situations to succeed. Shooting the puck a ton this year, more than he has in the past. 38 goals already. This could be a 50-goal guy. And by the end of it, there's a fair chance that he's going to end up with the second most points by any player this century. You look at, he has 16 3-point games this year. I've said, over the past few weeks here, I think Kucherov wins it if he finishes with about 5 or more points than, whoever's in second place, which would likely be MacKinnon. I think Kucherov needs about 5 more points than him, if not a little bit more, and he needs the Lightning to make the playoffs. He needs to lead them to the postseason. And if he can do that, I think it'd be very hard for him not to win the award.
Thank you so much, Chris. So let's transition now into our Faceoff segment. This is where David and I go back and forth on some questions. And first, David, let me ask this. Are injuries a valid excuse for the up and down season for the Lightning this year?
Absolutely not. First of all, Tampa Bay Lightning and the word excuse do not belong in the same sentence. So let's get that out of the way. Okay. This team was without Andrei Vasilevsky for 20 games and we're still able to put up 23 points. More points than games. That's good, right? If there was any time to make an excuse, it was at that time. But what we've heard from John Cooper about the recent losses is the Bolts have been beating themselves in certain areas. So leaving shooters open in front of the net, bad giveaways in their own zone. That's what's hurting the team, not so much the injuries.
Yeah, so I agree with you, but I will say missing Vasi, Sergei, Chernak, Janot, Connor Sherry, and Tyler Mott for extended periods of time this season is nothing to sneeze about either. The injury bug has certainly been a problem. Next question. Besides Nikita Kucherov, the Bolts need blank to step up to make it back to the playoffs.
I think the answer is really obvious. I mean, we could say it together. Steven Stamkos, right? The captain recently tied a career low for points in a single month. Only had 4 in February. That's with an extra day.
Yeah, so he certainly has to step up more. I agree with you. But my answer is actually going to be Nick Paul, because I think that Stammer is going to be just fine down these last 20 games. Paul has been solid, scoring 3 goals in his last 5 games, but the Bolts are not as deep anymore. They need some other guys besides the Cooches, the Points, the Stammers to find the back of the net. Paul is an important piece in the depth in these final 20 games. Finally, David, after today, the Lightning play just 4 games in the next 2 weeks. Is that break good or bad for the team?
If you asked me this before the All-Star break, I would have said this is absolutely a bad thing because they were rolling. They were on fire back then. Now they're back on that roller coaster. Now, I will say this. Late in the season, it is good to have days off between games, but if you can't win those games, it ultimately doesn't matter.
See, I'm still leaning towards this being a bad thing as the Lightning have gotten older. The engine takes a little while to get brewing. I think John Cooper will have to work them in practice for many of these days to keep their legs motoring. So in the long term, if they make the playoffs, this is awesome. Less wear and tear, right? But while they're in the heat of this wild card race, I think it hurts them a little bit.
All right, now it is time for the shootout. This is where Evan or myself goes one-on-one with a Bolts player to get to know them better. Brayden Point had a massive season last year, and he scored in 6 of his last 8 games, so we figured Pointer should do the honors of leading us off with this segment. I am sitting next to a man who certainly knows how to light the lamp, the aptly named Brayden Point. Pointer, thank you for joining us, man. And tell us something that you know now about playing in the NHL that you wish you could have known when you first joined the Bolts back in 2016.
Jeez, that's a good question. I guess maybe just time and space, and you learn that by playing. That comes with just reps on the ice. So I think coming in, you're just trying to work so hard to stay on the roster. I think learning where you have time and space, that would have been nice to know coming in, because it's a different game than junior hockey, that's for sure.
Well, you've certainly learned it, because you recently crossed the 500 game mark. To reach something like that, what did that mean to you?
Well, it was very special to me. I think you grow up, you're just playing, you're never really expecting to make the NHL. You're hoping, but you're just playing and working hard because you want to be a better player for yourself. And then you get the chance to play one game that's special, and then to play 500 is it's truly special for me.
Let's talk about last season a little bit. 50 plus goals for you, also coming off of that significant injury. That season, what was working so well for you?
Well, I think playing with guys that can get me the puck in such good spots, I mean, that's huge. And then last year pucks were going in. It takes luck sometimes to put the puck in the net, and I was getting good puck luck. This year's been a little more up and down for me. Just trying to stay even keel and produce when I can.
Now, you've played with Cooch, you've played with Stammer for a long time, but as a whole, what makes this year's group unique in your mind?
Well, it's a brand new group, really. We had a lot of turnover, so I think just our work ethic. We got a lot of speed on our team. We got good team speed, and this year it really takes everyone to win games. And I think we've had some really good stretches. We've had some tough stretches. It's just finding that consistency, I guess, that we're working on right now, and I think that's where our focus is.
All right, let's wrap up our 3 stars of the week here, and our 3rd star goes to Matt Rempe of the Rangers, who is bringing old school hockey back, fighting every night it seems like. In 5 games, he has 27 penalty minutes. The rookie already earned a black eye for this howitzer against Columbus. Or that's against the Flyers. My goodness, this man is incredible at 6'7". He is the tower of power and making a name for himself quickly in the Big Apple.
Speaking of power, Philadelphia needed more of it Tuesday when the Flyers had a partial power outage in the arena. Our second star goes to Paul Kennedy, and Dave Andrewchuk.
PK.
They had to announce part of that second period from the studio, had no sound from the transmission. That is not an easy job, so tip of the cap to you two and the production team.
Yeah, our top star goes to Connor McDavid. He is the first player since Mario Lemieux in 1992 to record at least 25 apples in a single calendar month. He has 6 straight games of recording at least 2 assists. For a comparison, Nikita Kucherov's longest multi-assist streak of the season is at 3 games. The man is utterly ridiculous. All right, we end the show as we always do with some picks. David, we have 2 matchups to select from. It's a light week coming up. Call me an optimist, but I am going with the Lightning winning tonight and then beating the Flames. I'll say both games are won by more than a goal. Might need an empty netter in both of them.
So I might be a pessimism, but I do think the Lightning are overdue for a win inside the crib. So I will take them against the Habs. However, I am taking a rolling Flames team to beat the Bolts on Thursday. They're on fire right now.
All right, so we'll see what happens. Let's hope that I'm right and he's only partially right in the front end because some people might riot if this gets ugly after one episode. We got one down, a bunch more to go. That is David Schiele. I'm Evan Klosky. This is The Breakaway on 10 Tampa Bay.